A physically deformed baby, born without limbs, skin, or hair, is abandoned by his parents after being offered as a sacrifice to demons that feasted on him before his birth. Dororo tells the tale of an orphan child who accompanies the physical deformed boy on his journey to destroy and recover his body parts from the demons. On one of the duo's travels, Hyakkimaru carries Dororo on his shoulder after he unexpectedly falls ill. When Hyakkimaru tries to seek help, he is ignored by several villagers because of his inability to speak correctly. Thankfully, a nun approaches them and offers them shelter at a temple. Dororo is laid on a mat to recover, while he reminisces his hatred for Manjushage red spider lilies that reminded him of his parents' death. Hyakkimaru coincidentally arrives when Dororo tells the tale of his parents, Hibukuro and Ojiya, who were warriors trying to survive the war era between the lords of the land. Not only that, they lived in fear that Daigo's army would one day attack them and had to do anything to survive. After a gruesome betrayal from his trusted man, Itachi, Hibukuro is maimed and left to scourge battlefields for food remains with his family. For the first time, young Dororo witnesses the cruelty of humans and what a battlefield feels like. It's also his first encounter with red Manjushage lilies, flowers his father teases to get their red color from absorbing blood from a battlefield. This was one time they had a good laugh in their situation, and soon they had to travel for shelter. On the way, they arrive at a village being burnt down by soldiers according to the Lord's order. After his battle, Hibukuro gives up his life fighting for what he loves. Yet I could never risk my life for video games. Ojiya is left to survive with young Dororo despite the harsh season. Well, not exactly surviving because the hunger gets intense. Soon, they run into the heartless Itachi at a camp, who has elevated his status by gaining favor in the eyes of a lord. The love of a mother is displayed by Ojiya as she uses her hands to serve Dororo the last round of food. Not only does she deprive herself to feed Dororo, but she also gets burnt by its hotness. In a field filled with Manjushage, Ojiya falls, stricken with hunger. In her last words, she promises Dororo that the war will end eventually, and tells him to continue living. The nun is shattered after hearing Dororo's story, and just then, she makes a shocking revelation, asking Hyakkimaru how he is related to the sick girl. Not entirely sure, but we think Hyakkimaru noticed Dororo's gender from their first meeting, because he wasn't so shocked by the nun's words. Also, note that Hyakkimaru is blind and could only sense people's spirits. Don't go thinking he found out through the other way. And from the origin of Dororo's story, the baby was born as a girl, but raised as a boy because the warring season was too harsh for a feminine child. Later, at Daigo's home, a spy arrives with the news that years ago, there was once a baby floating without limbs by a river, also reporting that a man was seen traveling with prosthetics. Unknown to them, Tahomaru lurked in a dark corner and wondered what his father could be hiding from him. The next day, it is revealed that Nui no Kata still longs for her first child and is seen praying to the headless godless statue. Daigo receives disturbing news about drought in the village and the Asakura clan, so he goes to visit the Hall of Hell in search of answers. Just then, it is revealed to him that the cursed boy is trying to recover his body parts that were sacrificed. Curious for answers, Tahomaru gives the order that his father's spy be drugged for questioning. He finds out his father is in search of a baby that went missing 16 years ago, but is unable to figure out why before the drug's effects wear out. Later, Tahomaru confronts his father about the truth, but Daigo dismisses him because it was not his concern. Later, Tahomaru is found by Mutsu and Hyogo in a place he sought solace from since childhood. They visit a small gathering of villagers who need help with a monster in the river. Tahomaru takes the lead, heading with boats and warriors to defeat it. Unfortunately, the mission is aborted due to the monster's hard shell. Tahomaru refuses to sacrifice anyone's life to kill the monster, and after getting an insight from the river, he comes up with a plan. The villagers work together to execute Tahomaru's sluice that successfully traps the crab monster without its elements of water. The monster, after noticing it's at a disadvantage, breaks the sluice barrier that lets an inflow of water. Just when it's about to swallow Hyogo, Hyakkimaru arrives at the scene and gives the killing slash. This turn of events has Tahomaru wondering who the strange man is and where he appeared from. Dororo proves to be a blabbering child while he spreads word of Hyakkimaru's greatness despite being a blind warrior. He is given payment for slaying the monster. However, Tahomaru requests Hyakkimaru's name before they leave. It is revealed that both men feel a strange connection toward the other, but it remains unknown that they are siblings. Later on, Dororo takes Hyakkimaru to a nearby village that is prospering due to Lord Daigo's influence. There, they meet a physically deformed man, who informs them about his visit to the shrine where the demons slaughtered by Lord Daigo years ago are kept. Before he leaves, he sees Hyakkimaru's soul is tainted and warns him to be careful. Later on, the duo arrives at a wall known to harbor the curse of Banban. Rumors have spread around the city that the single wall is guarded by the goddess Nui no Kata prays to, while others believe that the residents of the wall are the demons slayed by Daigo years ago. Apparently, Hyakkimaru also senses strange energy around it. While they investigate, they are approached by Sukeroku, who warns them not to cross, else they'll be shot by Asakura sentries who have claimed territory of the place. Sukeroku tells a tale of how the abandoned field was once his home, but the war between the Asakura clan and Daigo's army dealt irreplaceable damage. In Dororo's kindness, he promises to help slay the demon for free and get him to meet his parents. Meanwhile, Nui no Kata pleads to Daigo about his unjust deed to their son after hearing of his possible return to the village. However, Daigo is anything but remorseful, even after choosing prosperity over his son. The head of the Asakura clan is notified about Lord Daigo's movement, but is unsure of where he heads to. At nightfall, Hyakkimaru battles fiercely against the demon of Banban, and during the fight, Sukeroku takes matters into his tiny little hands by running into the Asakura territory and ends up getting caught. Tahomaru is a step closer to knowing the truth and feels the appearance of the blind boy has something to do with the secret his parents are hiding. He runs into a strange psychotic woman who is terrified that the sacrificed baby has returned to curse Daigo and his land. Dororo, who was captured with Sukeroku, awakens in a cage where he is locked up with the other prisoners, including a disheartened Sukeroku, who tells him that his village was completely destroyed, including his parents. Sukeroku expresses his lack of will to live or escape with Dororo. Also, Dororo finds out that the seal on Hyakkimaru's amulet belongs to Daigo's clan. He is aided by the captives and escapes to get help from Hyakkimaru. On another side of the story, Daigo gets to meet his first son personally. Hyakkimaru senses an attraction towards Daigo, yet questions who the strange man was. In return, Daigo sends troops to attack him, on the grounds that the half-demon child shouldn't have survived. Later, Tahomaru confronts his mother about her child that was fed to the demons when Daigo interrupts their conversation, defending his actions that made his village prosper. Just then, there's an intruder alert in the premises, and the intruder is revealed to be Hyakkimaru. Nui no Kata calls out to her son while Daigo remains ruthless and orders him to be killed. Tahomaru confronts Daigo about his order, but then Daigo reminds him about the consequences of breaking his deal with the demons. Meanwhile, the Asakura clan get ready for war against Lord Daigo's village, now that the demons around the Banban wall were destroyed. After hours of meditation in the Hall of Hell, the physically deformed man finds out that Lord Daigo didn't beat all the demons, but just a few of them. What's also strange is that he senses Hyakkimaru's soul is similar to that of Tahomaru. Tahomaru is caught up in his family's drama that he takes a journey to the Hall of Hell, where he finds out that his brother had broken some of the deals made with demons. Meanwhile, Dororo, who finally escaped, finds Hyakkimaru to reveal his discovery about the seal on his talisman, which is also the same as Lord Daigo's family crest. At the former Curse Wall, the Asakura clan begins assassinating their prisoners when the demons and Daigo's army arrive to disrupt the massacre. Meanwhile, Hyakkimaru is set to face off against Daigo's army when he sees the same soldier who killed his lover, Mio, and loses control. Thankfully, Dororo is there to remind him that he is not a demon, even though Lord Daigo refers to him as such. Just then, Tahomaru arrives at the scene and introduces himself to Hyakkimaru as his brother. It seemed Daigo's brainwashing turns out successful when Tahomaru declares a duel between them, choosing to save the land according to his father's wishes. During the fight, Hyakkimaru slashes Tahomaru's eyes with his prosthetic saber when Nui no Kata arrives to stop them. She apologizes for not being able to save him from his father's ordeal. Wishing to take his place in suffering, she prays to the statue of the goddess and stabs herself with a knife. In the end, Hyakkimaru wins against the wolf demon and Banban's wall collapses, causing Daigo's army to retreat while Sukeroku reunites with his mother who had gone in hiding. It seems Nui no Kata's sacrifice turns out successful. Prosperity is upon Daigo's land again, now with the enemy's retreat, and rain that has been restored to the village. Regardless, Daigo worries about how long the deal with the demons will last, now that Nui no Kata's life is on the line. After the encounter with his family, Hyakkimaru consistently fights monsters and refuses to rest. Dororo makes it his duty to help Hyakkimaru relax, so he invites him out to a hot spring that he only accepts when he hears a monster is lurking nearby. Behind a waterfall lies a demon Buddha statue with a huge sword, used to cut the face of its victim. Dororo unexpectedly runs into the statue while picking wood for fire, and there he meets a woman with a face and voice familiar to his mother. Dororo takes her to see Hyakkimaru, who confirms she's not a ghoul nor a human. She introduces herself as Okaka, and welcomes them into her home where they were coincidentally spending the night. While she prepares dinner, Dororo is curious about the Buddha statue behind the waterfall. She informs them about the tale of the famous carver, who was admired by all villagers, but after the war began, the villagers lost taste in his kind-looking Buddha statues, and he was forgotten. The carver yearned to get back at the villagers, so he found a boulder behind the waterfall and carved the hands, legs, and body of a huge Buddha, but got thrown off when it was time to carve the face. He destroyed the Buddha's face over and over again in pursuit of a magnificent one, but was unable to complete the task till he eventually died in his ordeal. Dororo is confused by the story, but pushes it under the carpet when Okaka announces that it's time to eat. The power of food right here. Hyakkimaru falls asleep briefly after dinner, while Okaka's kindness warms Dororo's heart that she requests to call her mother. While in Okaka's arms, Dororo falls asleep, and only then does Okaka reveal that the food was made with a sleeping tonic. She reveals that she is the carver from her story, completing it by adding that a vengeful spirit possessed the Buddha statue, revived her, and ordered her to bring the faces of humans in order to get its own. She also reveals that she can see through a person, and can alter her voice and face to look like the person's thoughts. Also adding the reason she didn't kill Dororo earlier is because Dororo is a child, but Hyakkimaru's face will fit just fine. Dororo awakens after a short dream of his mother's face, and is able to intercept Okaka in time. Hyakkimaru awakens when he hears Dororo's voice, and after a short fight against the Buddha, falls down the waterfall where he sees the bodies dumped by Okaka. When Hyakkimaru returns to land, Okaka tries all means necessary to get to Hyakkimaru, even as much as copying his mother's identity, but he is unfazed as he is blind, and has never seen his mother. Dororo convinces Okaka that nobody is perfect in the world, while Hyakkimaru saves Okaka from the Buddha's blade after she has a change of heart. The Buddha destroys itself with its blade, while Okaka withers with a view of Dororo's smiling face. After his feat, Hyakkimaru finally agrees to a rest day in the hot spring, and they are accompanied by some familiar faces and two children who tease Dororo about the map drawn on his back. That's all for now, folks. Bye and thanks for watching. See you next time.